Canva just had a massive glow up and it's time to talk about it. We've got new updates, new features, and for the first time in a while, a completely new look, which may throw some people off when they first get it. Today, I'll give you a brief overview of all the exciting changes and what they mean to you. Now, a little side note, the new Canva glow up has been introduced at Canva Create in May 2024, but could only be discovered during and shortly after the event by a limited group of 1 million users. This means you may not have it in your account yet, but the glow up is going to be rolled out to all the users over the coming months. I was actually contemplating whether or not to make this video at this stage, but ultimately I feel like it gives you a chance to understand what's coming very soon and to get prepared so that the designing process doesn't get disrupted. So without further ado, let's do this. Now, the most obvious thing about the glow up is how the layout of the homepage changed. So you can see the new look right when you jump in, and there are sections here now to help you navigate more smoothly. I personally love this new homepage look. It's much more focused, it feels cleaner, and again, it makes things much more easily accessible, so that makes me very happy. Now, let's start with the very top. You can see that we have a completely new header. The search bar that we all know so well now sits above, and then there's a notification bell for all of the crucial updates in here in the top right corner, and your account panel here to access your teams, to access your accounts, the members, and all the other important functions like your settings. I also want you to pay attention to this one right here because you can now easily access Canva's design school from here to learn. Now, below the header, you can see the most used design formats for easy access. Here I can see, Instagram, portrait, you can see docs, whiteboards, and presentations, all of which create a new design instantly when you click on them. The interesting part is the next portion, which is social media, print, and website. And when you click on any of those, you'll get this pop-up menu suggesting more detailed sizes and giving you categories like social media platforms in this case. So you've got Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and your own brand templates that you've saved for this category. And of course, different templates below in here as well. Now, for ease of use, you can also jump into the same suggestions here in the left panel. So if you decide to say not go for social media, but rather would go for something like print products, for example, you can just quickly jump from it in here, or you can jump at the very top to use the search bar. So it's a super neat way to start designing quickly and easily to choose the right size every single time. Now, if you take a look here, we also have custom size and upload plus more, which is exactly what we get here outside of the pop-up too. So for custom size, that's where you choose your own specific dimensions for your design with different measurement units. So you can see pixels, inches, millimeters, and centimeters. And I love that it now suggests recent sizes. It's so handy for me, and I'm sure it will be for you too. Now with upload, you can, upload files into Canva. Let me pop something in here very quickly, and you will be able to use it in a new design, which opens up a new one in a separate editor, or you can add it to a template with the use of Magic Design. So you can see that it just takes us to Magic Design. It's still in beta, but you can see that it just uploads my media, and then you will be able to choose from the category or apply your brand kit. Let's give it a second. So you can see in here that it just suggested a few templates to start off with. Of course, this is an Instagram Reels cover that is already designed. So maybe something like this would work, or maybe like this, but not necessarily the other one. So again, you've got all the power to kind of filter it out and start a design this way. Apart from that, there's also the option to edit it with the Canva's photo editor. Now, with the more button in here, it actually gives you more categories, more options, more formats that may not be so obvious, but they're very much still available within Canva to help you design. Now, we still have the recent designs panel in here, but what changed is this left section in here where the create design button was moved to. So we can easily invite people to the team from here. And something that I really love is this little navigation section. This is where you can actually add your most used folders or subfolders to quickly jump to your key designs and create quicker. So you can see in here that I will be able to just access my visuals and B-roll, which is something that I use a lot for my YouTube projects. Now, if you've watched my channel for some time, you know how important organization is within Canva. If not, then watch this video right after this one. And this little addition in here is such a useful part of the new glow up. I really love it and I literally use it on a daily now. And to add something in here, simply go to your folder. So I can go to my projects and folders in here, and you can literally just start the folder like this. And this is how you highlight it in here. You can see that it appeared. Now you can see that one click takes you inside that folder, and you can also add sections in here. So if I go back to home, you can click this plus sign in here, which keeps things even more neat. So for example, if I wanted to say brand, I will be able to do it from here. And you can also add your emoji, for example. So let's say, this one will be the one that I use for some reason. And I can just drag this new folder into it to organize it. Now I'm happy because I will be able to then move things around in here to reorganize it. So if I wanted this one in the Instagram portion, for example, I would be able to move it around, or I can just pop it back underneath like this just to remove it from the sections. And you can see that I've created a YouTube and an Instagram section for myself just because that's what I use most often. And again, you can move the start ones across these sections. So I'll just close that one. But unfortunately, the sections themselves cannot be rearranged. So you can see that I'm trying to drag it, but it won't budge. So this is a little annoying, I feel like. I hope it changes in the future. So make sure to create these sections in the order that you use them most. Then below, we've got recent designs. At any stage, you can also just toggle to show or to hide that section, which I really like, again, to keep things a little bit more neat. For example, if I don't want that because I'm using, for example, this portion to access my recent designs, I can just close it like this for a more neat look. Now, I left this see what's changed section especially for you, so you can see that this will appear when you first get the glow up. You will be able to just access all the very important kind of updates and information about the glow up. But once you review all those designs, these are actually information packs, let's say, for you, you can actually just dismiss this part, and then you're left with the navigation panel on its own. And apart from that, we've got this navigation panel, which is very similar to what we had before, but it's much more concise and minimalistic. First, you can find your projects in here with all your folders, your designs, brand templates, and files, so not much change in here. Next, we've got the templates library that we all know and love with all the amazing templates in different categories. But here, we actually have one very major update with work kits. You can see them in here. Now, I don't want to go too much into work kits in here. In this video, I'll cover them briefly in my glow up updates video next week. And if you're interested, I might dedicate a whole separate tutorial for them since they're pretty big. But for now, what you need to know is that work kits are kind of group tools and templates that are useful for different areas of teamwork, like marketing, like sales or HR or creatives, which really help you improve workflows and productivity, and they enhance visual communications and make collaboration much easier. So let me know if you'd like to see a separate video on those down in the comments. And apart from that, we then have photos and icons in here, which allows you to find assets from the Canva library. Then we've got creators you follow for those amazing people who make Canva what it actually is, where you can find what your favorite creators contributed recently, and then discover some more of their templates, and all of your start content is here below as well. Then down at the very bottom, there's a glow up specific button. I don't know if you can see that, but through it, you will be able to learn about what changed and then submit feedback if there's something that you love or if you don't particularly enjoy something. Now, I think this is generally a really positive change, and for me, it feels like the homepage really makes everything much more accessible and really supports organization, which again is so important to me. Now, at this point, you can move to our editor, which got a major glow up, but first, let me show you what changed when it comes to clicking on the design. Okay, it reloaded. So when I want to open something, instead of opening in a new tab on the desktop or the iPad app, or in the same window when you're using the browser, now the design opens in this preview mode with the sidebar still present. And here's where I have to say I don't particularly enjoy it. Now, granted, it's perfect when you just want to kind of quickly reference something and browse through the pages quickly. You can then just click the X in here to close it. But in my workflow, more often than not, I just want to open that design fully to just jump in it and be able to edit it straight from the get-go. But I end up having to click twice, which takes me a little bit more time. So this is kind of the new workflow, if that makes sense. There is, of course, a possibility to open it just like in so many other apps. You can just use the scroll wheel on your mouse and then click it just like this. So we're not stuck with the preview, but I've still not been able to get used to it in a way. And it means that I'm clicking a little bit more. So this is just a little annoying thing. Now, a little side note, if you want to try Canva Pro for free for the whole month with all the amazing updates, then grab this free trial from the link down below and have fun discovering all the incredible templates and the graphics and the elements and the features, of course, which Canva has to offer. So grab it now from the link. But enough on the preview mode. We're jumping into the editor and you can see straight away that it's just as clean as the homepage. It's much less cluttered, it's just cleaner, more focused, more minimalistic. And again, it's supposed to help you focus on creativity much more and get rid of any unnecessary distractions. We've got so much more space to create and have fun, which I find super important, so I'm definitely happy about this. Now, not much has changed in the top panel in here. So you can see that by clicking this burger menu, we actually get the homepage sidebar. So we're back in the preview mode in a way, but we can easily close it back right here and we're again back in the editor. Now, another new thing is the mode panel in here. So you can see the editing, the commenting, and the viewing, which is great, especially when you're working within a team and have to review or approve content. So as you can see, when I click commenting, it actually takes away the left panel and this floating panel appears on the right. And it has all the comments from the design for easy navigation. So let me show you how to quickly add a comment. I can just select an element like this, and then this comment appears above. So I can just start typing. So I can say, love this in here, and I can obviously mention someone or add an emoji or add a sticker in here. I can just submit this comment like this, and you can see that it now appears as a bubble with my face on it. Since I'm the one who commented, you would be able to see all of the faces of your teammates, which again is great for collaboration. And then you can see the floating panel that now has this comment that appeared. From this drop-down menu in here, I can also filter the comments to see all of them, to see only the ones that mention me, any of the comments that are unread or resolved. You will be able to sort it like this. And I love how streamlined it is and how pleasant it is to collaborate, to make changes and approve content. And of course, you can resolve any of the comments like this. So if I just tick it, it disappears from here and it disappears from this box. And then you will be able to also filter it by resolved like that. Apart from that, if you click more, you will be able to delete or copy the link to the specific text box, or you will be able to add emojis or reply to the comments in here so you can actually keep the conversation going. Now, the next mode is for viewing only, view only, and it's a pretty cool way to preview your content without worrying that you move something around. I also like the fact that you can actually just easily select the text in this mode, which I find helpful when I'm repurposing content to, say, Threads or Twitter, or I want to use it as a starting point for my captions. Now, let's go back to the editing. You can now see that this left panel is back, and when you open it, you can see that it actually floats as well, and it doesn't stay open when I design, which again gives me much more space. And it also happens that when you hover over the other tabs, the different tabs, you get a preview of them, which means that you can navigate between all of these sections very, very smoothly. Now, if I wanted to stay open, I can just click on it, and then you can see that it just kind of becomes a solid panel. But if I want to get that extra space at any point, I will be able to just close it by using this X right here. But you don't have to worry though, because even if you're, say, in the process of looking through the elements from the tab like this, let's say I'm looking for Pampas in here, and I'm looking through the different elements like this, and they're loading, how you're scrolling. When I look away and it hides away, when I actually get back to it, it still remains open in the same place, so you don't lose your search, and I really like it. Now, something that you've probably noticed is that the panel is now white, which follows this very clean aesthetic. Now, I generally enjoy it, but it does create a little issue when browsing the elements in the library. So let me show you what I mean. So when I search for aesthetic, which is probably my favorite keyword, a little side note, you can see how well it looks with the photos, for example, because again, it has that clean look. But the moment I jump into graphics and I scroll through them, I'm starting to sometimes have issues with noticing certain elements, right? So for example, in here, I don't really know what this is. Now, for the elements that need more contrast, usually this light grayish background color is introduced. But to be fair, again, it doesn't always work. And then you can see this with this example. So if I click on it, I can only now see what it is, but I wasn't able to actually perceive it before. So I have to physically click and then add it to my designs to see what it looks like, which again, I find pretty problematic. Now, as my most recent example, I was actually trying to find fireworks animation. So let me just search it like this, and then I was actually looking for, again, animated elements, and you can see in here that it literally took me ages to find the animation that I really like, especially that sometimes they just kind of cut off at the very beginning, so you have to wait for the whole animation to render, which I felt was much easier with the previous one. So you can see that there's a lot of blank pages, and again, it really took me ages to literally find something that I liked, because I had to, again, keep clicking, keep adding those elements to figure out what I'm seeing. Now, if this is something that you cannot get over, I highly recommend going to your homepage, then to the profile, and then to settings in here. And then when scrolling down, you will be able to see this theme. So from here, you will be able to choose the dark mode. And you can see in here that if I go to this page, you now have this nice dark tone underneath, which makes, the visibility aspect for the Elements tab much better, but it does turn everything else dark too. So this can be potentially, good for your eyes because it's emitting less light and therefore it's less straining. But of course, it's completely up to you. Let me get back to the homepage and to the settings, and I'll actually sync it with the system because I prefer to have it light during the day and darker when the evening comes. Now, as you can see in the bottom left corner, we now have the Magic Assistant moved in here, so it sits neatly in this corner rather than floating on the canvas itself. It used to be in here, and I actually preferred this way because it was often obscuring the view of my designs, especially when they're horizontal, and it was pretty annoying when it comes to recording tutorials as well, since I very often have my bubble here on the right. Now, another massive change is the functional panel, which used to be here at the top, but it's now a floating pop-up, a contextual menu, which changes depending on the element selected. So I can select the text and you can see that it changes. Same goes for, this text box at the bottom. So just as it used to have different options when you selected the text or a graphic or an image, for example, it carries over to this floating panel in the same way. And we also have this secondary pop-up with the ability to, again, comment, to duplicate, for example, like this, or to delete. And if it's already a group, like in this case, or if you have multiple elements selected, you will be able to either group or ungroup. Now, I find it very handy, and it reminds me of the phone app experience a little bit. Now, we've got all the features that we had before in this top panel, apart from the info and the lock and the link buttons. So all of them will be accessible when you right-click to find them. Now, when you start using the top panel, another side panel appears to the right. It's a floating one again, and the Adjust tab is now here, so you can tap to access it. And when you scroll down, I'll go back in here, you will be able to see the new effects and the apps, more of them, some new ones. I'll cover all of them in the updates video next week, but let's take a look at what happens below. Now, because my selection is actually a group consisting of a graphic, which we're editing now, and a text box, if I scroll down in here, I will be able to also access these text editing options, the text specific options, which is super cool, and it really allows me to edit from this panel without having to select this specific element because this is a group. I can change the colors, I can change the format, I can change the font, I can also animate. So the position tab that we know from below, you can find in here. It's accessible like this, but don't worry, if I click away and then select again, you can see that it's still available within the top panel too. So if I open position, I've got it to my right. It looks really neat and concise. I can reposition just as I would before. And again, I feel like it's really great. It just, allows you to do everything. And then when you're done, you can just click away. Same goes when I open the color panel, for example. I can access my brand palettes, the color picker from here, the photo colors, all that good stuff, and the change all options. If I click on this, and change all appears here at the bottom as well when I change the color of my element. So let me show you what it looks like for photos. I love the fact that we now get the background remover instantly in the top panel. I think it's a great addition since it's a much beloved feature by most Canva users and it's used so often that it definitely deserves to be in the spotlight. And we've got the edit option, again, similar to my graphic a moment ago. The Magic Studio features are here. We've got the filters, the effects, the apps. Again, all the good stuff is here and it's very neatly arranged. I have to say, I do like this panel, but at the same time, it does mean a lot more clicking for me in practice. I normally use shortcuts for everything, so my designing process is pretty fast and smooth, but obviously I can't shortcut my way to some of these features. And that being said, I find it all much more clean, much more intuitive, and it looks really compact, which I really appreciate. Now, I want to know what you think of the Canva Glow Up, if you already have it, and if so, what parts of it you like or don't like. So drop me a comment down below. If it happens that you're not a fan of the new updates, know that you can actually turn them off from the settings. I'll show you how you can do that. If I scroll down to the settings, you can see that you can just turn off this glow up, but this change is coming to us all, and at a certain point we won't be able to get back to the old Canva, so it's best to start learning and adapting now. Watch this video to discover things that you didn't know you could do in Canva. I think you'll really like it, and make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to not miss the upcoming updates videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.